Welcome back, and thank you for tuning in to HK Cheating Stories. We appreciate each and every one of you joining us. Where in the world are you watching from? Let us know in the comments. Now, let's get the story started. They say you never see betrayal coming, that it sneaks up on you, hidden in the little things, missed calls, distant conversations, a shift in the way someone looks at you. But I saw it. I just didn't want to believe it. My name is Jake Wilson, and for 7 years, I thought I had a good marriage, a loving wife, a happy home. I worked hard, stayed loyal, and built a life I was proud of. Then, on our anniversary, I found the picture, a single image that shattered everything. And that was just the beginning of the nightmare. Our 7th anniversary, a day that was supposed to be filled with love, celebration, and memories of the life Lisa and I had built together. Instead, it became the day I realized the woman I had vowed to love and cherish had betrayed me in the most unforgivable way. I still remember the moment I found the pictures. They weren't hidden away in some secret folder or tucked behind a password-protected app. No, they had been sitting there in plain sight, waiting for me to stumble upon them. A series of photos of Lisa, my wife, in another man's arms. And in the worst one, their lips locked in an unmistakable kiss. At first, my brain refused to register what I was seeing. My hands trembled as I scrolled through the images, my heart hammering against my ribs. I felt a cold sweat break out along my back. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe this was an old picture. Maybe. No. The date stamp was clear. It was taken last night. I clenched my jaw so tightly it hurt. My entire body trembled with rage, disbelief, and something I didn't want to admit, heartbreak. I had never felt anything like this before. A part of me wanted to wake her up right then and demand answers. Another part of me wanted to walk out the door and never look back. But I needed to stay calm. I needed to hear what lies she was going to feed me. So I waited. The next morning, Lisa hummed in the kitchen, making coffee like it was just another day. The smell of roasted beans filled the air, but it only fueled my anger. How could she act so normal, so unbothered, when she had destroyed everything? I walked up behind her, my hands clenched into fists at my sides. "Where did you get that?" she asked, her voice sharp with shock as I shoved the picture in front of her face. That was her first reaction. Not guilt, not remorse, but concern over how I found out. I let out a dry, bitter laugh. "Really, Lisa? I show you proof of your cheating, and that's what you ask? Where I got it?" I took a step closer, my voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "Does it matter? Well, it changed the fact that you betrayed me." Her face paled. She took the picture from my hands, her fingers trembling slightly. "Jake, this looks bad, I admit. But," she hesitated, choosing her words carefully, "it's not what you think. We kissed, yes, but it's not cheating. It was just a moment, a mistake. We were in public, in full view of others." I stared at her, my stomach twisting. "That's your defense?" I scoffed, shaking my head in disbelief. "So because you weren't screwing him in the picture, you think it's fine? You think this," I jabbed my finger at the photo, my vision blurring with rage, "is keeping our vows?" Lisa took a deep breath, her expression shifting. She was trying to stay calm, trying to control the situation. "Jake, I see you're upset." "Upset?" I snapped, stepping back. "That's an understatement." She crossed her arms, a flicker of irritation in her eyes. "We were just caught off guard. You're making this into a bigger deal than it is. Overreacting won't help." I felt something snap inside me. She wasn't even sorry. I turned away and stormed toward the stairs. "Where are you going?" Lisa called, hurrying after me. I didn't answer. I yanked open our closet and pulled out a suitcase, throwing clothes into it without caring if they wrinkled. Lisa's voice was suddenly laced with panic. "Jake, stop. What are you doing?" I zipped up the suitcase, my breath coming in short, angry bursts. "I can't take your lies and deceit anymore. I need to leave before I do something I regret." Her eyes widened. "Don't be ridiculous, Jake. You wouldn't," she hesitated. "You wouldn't hit me." I froze. I turned slowly to face her. "Until today, I thought you would never cheat on me," I said coldly. "I guess we don't know each other as well as we thought." Her lips trembled, her face crumbling into something almost like regret. "Jake, I didn't cheat. Stop lying." My voice was low, full of warning. Lisa opened her mouth, but I was already reaching into my pocket. I pulled out another photo, the one that destroyed any remaining hope I had. Her smiling face, sitting in his lap, his hands on her hips. The color drained from her face. Where did you? Does it matter? I cut her off, repeating her own words back at her. Does knowing where I got this change the fact that you cheated? Lisa dropped the pictures. Her lips parted as if she wanted to say something, but instead, she broke down, sobbing. She reached out toward me. I stepped back. Don't, I warned. Stay away from me, Lisa. Tears streamed down her cheeks. Jake, please. I clenched my jaw. I gave you a chance to be honest. You didn't think I was worth the truth. If you had just told me the truth, I might have stayed, for our son's sake. But you demand too much. Her body trembled as she whispered, Jake, don't go. I grabbed my phone, my keys, and my suitcase. I'll only take calls about Connor. Otherwise, don't bother. I'll block you. And with that, I walked out the door, furious, heartbroken, and determined to never let her deceive me again. I spent the first 2 nights in a cheap motel, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of my marriage, wondering when it all fell apart. Was it my fault? Did I miss the signs? Or had Lisa been lying to me for far longer than I realized? The thought made my stomach churn. I had trusted her. I had believed in our marriage, in the life we had built together. And now? Now I was sitting in a room that smelled like stale cigarettes and bad decisions, wondering how the hell I ended up here. By the 3rd day, the text messages started. First from our mutual friends. Then from Lisa's best friend, Sophia. And then, eventually, from Lisa herself. Lisa, Jake, please. We need to talk. Sophia, Jake, don't throw everything away over a misunderstanding. Just meet with us. We want to help. Lisa, you owe me at least a conversation. I owed her? I gritted my teeth and tossed my phone onto the bed. I had already made my decision. I wasn't going to let her manipulate me into staying in a broken marriage. But then something changed. Sophia messaged again. Sophia, we're all meeting on Sunday at 6 p.m. Just come. Hear her out. It's the least you can do. The least I could do? I stared at the screen, my mind racing. This wasn't just about Lisa anymore. This was a setup. They weren't asking me to talk. They were gathering as a group to ambush me. I exhaled slowly, feeling a dark sort of amusement creep in. Fine. Let's play. The moment I pulled into the parking lot of the steakhouse, I knew I was walking into enemy territory. Lisa's car was already there, along with Sophia's and 2 others I recognized from our social circle. They had arrived early, probably to coordinate their attack. I smirked. Predictable. I stepped inside, scanning the room. The group sat in a private dining area, away from prying eyes. A single empty chair waited for me, right next to Lisa. Of course. Lisa stood up immediately, her face lighting up like she actually thought I was here to forgive her. I held up a hand, stopping her mid-step. If you don't mind, I said coolly, I'd rather sit at the far end of the table. If that's not an option, I can sit somewhere else. Sophia was the first to recover. Of course, Jake, she said quickly. Jared, switch seats with him. Jared, one of Lisa's coworkers, reluctantly moved. I sat down, folding my arms, waiting. The tension in the room was thick, like they were all trying to decide who would start the performance first. Sophia cleared her throat. Jake, we all know this situation is difficult, but we just want to talk. I leaned back, keeping my expression unreadable. Before any of you start lecturing me, let's make one thing clear. I reached into my jacket and pulled out several copies of the photo, the one of Lisa kissing her mystery man. I tossed them across the table like playing cards. The silence was deafening. Some of them refused to look at the pictures. Others glanced at them, then at Lisa, then quickly looked away. No one spoke. I let the silence stretch before finally breaking it. You all seem very interested in fixing my marriage, I said, my voice calm but firm. Yet Lisa refuses to tell me who this guy is. I gestured toward the photos. I'm guessing at least one of you knows. So, if you really want to help, start with that. I waited. Sophia opened her mouth, hesitated, then closed it. No one else moved. I let out a humorless chuckle. That was all the answer I needed. Got it, I said, standing up. This isn't about fixing my marriage. This is about covering for her. Thanks for clearing that up. Lisa suddenly reached out, grabbing my wrist. Jake, wait. That's not fair, she pleaded, her eyes desperate. I yanked my hand away like her touch burned. You want fair, Lisa? Fair would have been talking to me before you let another man put his hands on you. She flinched. I turned to the rest of them. Enjoy your dinner, I said, voice dripping with cold finality. I've lost my appetite. Lisa called my name as I walked away, but no one else did. Because deep down, they all knew. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't a mistake. This was a betrayal, and they had all chosen their side. I wasn't going to be part of their game, but I would make damn sure they regretted making me their enemy. I had barely been home for an hour when my phone buzzed again. Lisa. I ignored it. A second later, another message came through. Lisa, Jake, please. One last time. Just meet with me. No tricks. No games. I owe you an explanation. An explanation? Now she wanted to explain? After days of silence. After that pathetic intervention with her friends? I stared at the message, my thumb hovering over the delete button. I should ignore her. But something in my gut told me I needed to hear what she had to say. Fine. One last meeting. I replied with a single word. Me where? Her response was almost immediate. Lisa, Sophia's house. 8 p.m. Please, Jake. I scoffed. Sophia's house. Of course. The same woman who had tried to manipulate me at dinner. I should have said no. I should have told her to go to hell. But I didn't. 8 p.m., Sophia's house. I parked down the street, not wanting my car to be trapped in their driveway. Something about this felt off. As I approached the door, I could hear voices inside, muffled, tense, like they were preparing for something. I knocked once. The door swung open almost immediately, and there she was. Lisa. She looked relieved to see me, like she actually thought this was the start of some reconciliation. She reached for my hand. I pulled away. Just talk, I said, stepping inside. The living room was full. Too full. Sophia, Jared, two other men I barely recognized. And then, sitting on the couch like he owned the place, was him. Ethan, the man from the photo, the one Lisa had refused to name. My blood went cold. Lisa licked her lips, like she was nervous. Jake, this is Ethan Franklin. Ethan stood, extending his hand. I didn't take it. His smirk was infuriating. We've gotten off to a bad start, he said smoothly. I hope we can be friends. Or at least be civil. I laughed. A sharp, bitter sound. Civil? You mean like not sleeping with other people's wives? Lisa flinched. Ethan didn't. Instead, he gestured around the room. Jake, I know this must be a shock to you, but you have to understand something. I folded my arms, waiting. This group, he continued, his voice calm, rehearsed, is built on trust, understanding, and freedom. I scoffed. Freedom? You mean cheating? Ethan chuckled like I was a naive child. Monogamy is outdated, Jake. You might not see it now, but real love, strong love, doesn't come from possession. It comes from sharing. You and Lisa can grow from this. I turned to Lisa, disbelief and disgust boiling inside me. You discussed this with them? You agreed to test the waters with him without even talking to me. She nodded nervously. I thought it would be good for us, she admitted. I wanted to bring the idea to you, but I was afraid you'd say no before giving it a chance. I clenched my fists, afraid I'd say no. So instead of talking to me like a damn adult, she just did it behind my back. Ethan took a step closer. I could feel the smugness radiating off of him. Jake, he said, voice smooth as oil. Think about the benefits. We've all been there. Every couple in this room has faced the same fears, the same doubts. And look at them now. I glanced around. Sophia nodded eagerly. Jared smirked. The others watched me, waiting for me to be convinced. Like I was some uneducated fool who just needed a little more brainwashing before I saw their so-called truth. Ethan spread his arms, like a preacher addressing his congregation. You have access to all these wonderful people, Jake. You could be with any woman here if you wanted. It's about trust, security, confidence in your partner. I felt a deep, simmering rage build in my chest. You just called every woman in this room a whore, I said flatly. The room went dead silent. Lisa inhaled sharply. Ethan's smirk twitched. I took a slow step forward, my voice low, dangerous. Let me make something clear, Ethan. A gentleman never interferes in another man's marriage. And a real man doesn't need to share his wife to feel secure. Ethan stiffened, but before he could respond, I turned back to Lisa. One last question, Lisa. My voice was cold as ice. Was this really your first time with him? Lisa's face crumbled. She looked down. She couldn't meet my eyes. That was all the answer I needed. Ethan jumped in again, like he could still save this. Jake, don't you see? We helped Lisa understand the benefits. You can participate, too. There are other advantages. I held up a hand, cutting him off. I need time to process this, I said, forcing my voice to be calm. Lisa and I need to talk. Just the two of us. Ethan grinned weakly. He wanted immediate submission, but he wasn't going to get it. Of course, he said smoothly. Take your time. As soon as I turned my back, 3 large men grabbed me. I stiffened, but I didn't panic. I expected something like this. Lisa stepped forward, reaching into my jacket, pulling out my phone. She deleted the recordings. Brian, we want to trust you, Ethan said, patting my shoulder. But until you're one of us, we have to protect ourselves. Lisa nodded, handing the phone back. It's done. I forced myself to look defeated. I let them believe they had won. Because this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. I walked out of Sophia's house that night a different man. I had gone in thinking I would get answers. Closure. Maybe even a pathetic attempt at an apology. Instead, I had come face to face with a cult, a group of people who had convinced my wife that marriage was meaningless, that betrayal was normal, that I was the unreasonable one for not wanting to share her. And Lisa? She had let them hold me down. Let them take my phone and delete my evidence. I should have fought harder. I should have taken them all down, broken every bone in Ethan's smug face. But I didn't. Because this wasn't the place. This wasn't the time. This wasn't over. I had spent the weekend reinforcing my position. New locks on my bedroom door. Hidden security cameras in the house. A meeting with a lawyer to start the divorce process. Lisa had tried to talk to me since the night at Sophia's, but I ignored her. I wasn't going to waste another second listening to her justifications. Then, on Monday night, I came home to something unexpected. I stepped inside, and immediately, I knew something was wrong. Laughter. Voices. Too many voices. I walked into the kitchen and froze. Lisa, Sophia, Ethan, and a group of their friends were sitting around the table, like they belonged there. It wasn't just a casual gathering. It was an ambush. Lisa turned, a fake, hopeful smile plastered on her face. Jake, you're home early. Come sit down. I scanned the room. No sign of my son, Connor. Where's Connor? Lisa waved a hand dismissively. I dropped him off at the babysitter's. He's staying there tonight so we could talk. I exhaled slowly, keeping my temper in check. We don't need to talk. We need to sign divorce papers. Ethan chuckled, shaking his head like I was a stubborn child. Jake, he said smoothly, we're here to help. We know this is hard for you, but trust me, this can work. You just need to open your mind a little. I clenched my jaw. I was done playing along. You've already opened my wife's legs, Ethan. My mind, however, is staying shut. The room went silent. Lisa's face flushed with embarrassment. Sophia coughed awkwardly. The others exchanged uneasy glances. Ethan's smirk twitched. You're angry, I get it, he said, keeping his voice calm and patronizing. But that's why we're here. To work through this together. Lisa wants to make this right. We all do. I laughed. A sharp, humorless sound that cut through the tension like a blade. You all do. I repeated, shaking my head. Let me get this straight. You steal my wife, humiliate me, trap me in my own home, delete my evidence, and now you expect me to sit here and thank you for the privilege? Lisa stepped forward, her eyes pleading. Jake, please. I know this is a lot to take in, but you need to see the benefits. This isn't about losing me. It's about gaining more. More what? I snapped. More humiliation? More betrayal? More diseases? Ethan tensed, but I didn't stop. You know what, Lisa? I might have actually listened if you had come to me first. If you had been honest. But you didn't. You cheated. And now, you want me to forget all that because your cult leader says monogamy is outdated. Lisa's lips quivered. It wasn't cheating. I took a step forward, voice low, sharp. You let another man put his hands on you, and you let your friends hold me down while you erased my proof. You tell me, Lisa, if that's not cheating, what the hell is it? She flinched. For the first time, she looked guilty. Ethan, however, had had enough. He exhaled, shaking his head in disappointment. I was hoping you'd be more open-minded, Jake. He nodded to 2 of the men behind me. And just like before, they grabbed me. I went rigid, my pulse spiking. Lisa didn't stop them. She walked up, reached into my pocket, and pulled out my phone. I didn't fight. Not yet. She unlocked it, scrolled through my recordings, and deleted everything. Again. And this time, she smiled. Brian, we want to trust you, Ethan said, watching me carefully. But until you're one of us, we have to protect ourselves. Lisa nodded, handing my phone back like she was doing me a favor. It's done, she said softly. I took my phone, my hand shaking with rage. I had let them do it, because I wanted them to think they had won. I looked at Lisa one last time. The woman I had loved. The woman I had trusted. And I felt nothing. You just made the biggest mistake of your life, I murmured. Ethan chuckled, patting my shoulder. You'll see, Jake. We'll get through this. I forced a tight smile. Yeah, we will. Because this time, I was ready. This time, I had a plan. And when I was done, they were all going to regret ever trying to break me. I didn't go back to the motel that night. Instead, I drove to a 24-hour hardware store and bought 2 new locks, one for my bedroom and one for the hall bathroom. If Lisa thought she could keep sneaking into my space, she had another thing coming. By the time I got home, the house was dark. I moved quietly, replacing the locks and hiding the keys where she'd never find them. Then, I sat down at the kitchen table, staring at my phone. The rage inside me was simmering, but I wouldn't let it boil over yet. I had to be smart. The moment I stepped into Sophia's house earlier, I knew Lisa and her friends were too cocky. They thought they had me trapped, that I was too broken to fight back. They were wrong. I dialed the number my lawyer had given me that afternoon. A groggy but sharp voice answered. Attorney Parker speaking. I took a deep breath. I want to file for divorce. Immediately. By Friday morning, the papers were ready. I sat across from Parker, a no-nonsense divorce attorney known for ripping apart cheaters in court. She reviewed the details I provided, her pen tapping against the desk. She'll fight this, Parker said, scanning through Lisa's financial records. She'll drag it out, manipulate the system, maybe even try to paint you as the bad guy. Women like her always do. I nodded, already expecting as much. I don't care how long it takes. I just want full custody of my son. Parker arched an eyebrow. That's a big ask. The court tends to favor mothers unless there's evidence of neglect or harm. I leaned forward. Then let's get the evidence. She smirked. Now we're talking. Lisa didn't react the way I expected when she was served. No screaming. No crying. Instead, she came home smiling. I knew you'd file, she said, her voice sickeningly sweet as she set her purse down. I'm not even mad, Jake. You just need time to process things. I scoffed. There's nothing to process. It's over. She walked closer, reaching out like she wanted to touch me. I stepped back. I still love you, Jake, she whispered. And I know you love me too. I narrowed my eyes. This was an act. Lisa had always been a master manipulator. She wasn't upset because she thought I'd changed my mind. She was upset because she was losing control. You can't undo what you did, Lisa, I said coldly. Sign the papers and move on. She gave me a sad little smile. I won't sign them. Of course she wouldn't. A week later, Parker called with bad news. She's fighting the divorce, she said. Her lawyer convinced the court to mandate 10 marriage counseling sessions before finalizing anything. I laughed bitterly. She doesn't want a marriage. She wants to stall. That's exactly what she's doing, Parker confirmed. They chose a therapist biased toward women. The goal is to make you look unreasonable. Let them try, I muttered. Lisa didn't expect what I had planned. The first session was a joke. The therapist, a woman in her late 50s, greeted us with a warm smile. Jake, Lisa tells me she wants to save your marriage. That's a wonderful first step. I looked straight at Lisa. I don't want to stay married to a promiscuous woman. The therapist blinked, clearly thrown off. Jake, we need to discuss feelings, not accusations. I nodded. My feeling is that I don't want to stay married to a promiscuous woman. Lisa shifted uncomfortably. The therapist cleared her throat. Jake, can you elaborate on why you feel this way? I folded my arms. Because she's a promiscuous woman. The therapist sighed, already frustrated. Lisa glared at me, but I didn't budge. I had 10 of these sessions to sit through. I was going to make every single one of them miserable. While Lisa wasted time on her fake reconciliation, I was working with Parker and a private investigator. Detective Harris was ruthless. Within 2 weeks, he had uncovered multiple affairs Lisa had hidden before Ethan, financial inconsistencies in her spending, a recording of a phone call where she admitted to deleting my evidence. By the time the 5th therapy session ended, the counselor gave up. This isn't working, she admitted. Lisa, I don't think Jake is open to healing this marriage. Lisa's smile dropped. She had officially lost her stall tactic, and she knew it. That night, Lisa tried one last time. I was watching TV in the living room when she walked in, wearing the lingerie she used to save for special occasions. I didn't even glance at her. She bit her lip. Jake, let's stop this fighting. Let's just go upstairs. I muted the TV, turned to her, and smiled. Are you trying to reset the divorce clock? Her face froze. I chuckled. That's what this is, right? You're hoping if we sleep together, I won't be able to finalize the divorce for another 8 months. Lisa's expression turned ice cold. I hate you, she whispered. I laughed. Good. Now get out of my sight. She stormed upstairs, slamming the door. I unmuted the TV, feeling completely at peace for the first time in months. Lisa had played every card she had, and she lost. But the war wasn't over yet. Not even close. I should have known Lisa wouldn't go down without a fight. She had tried seduction, manipulation, and even forced therapy, but none of it worked. And when a liar runs out of ways to twist the truth, they do the only thing left. They make up an entirely new lie. I came home from work that evening and immediately sensed something was wrong. The air felt heavy, the silence unnatural. Then I saw it, the envelope on the kitchen counter. The official-looking document inside. My name printed in bold letters. I already knew what it was before I even opened it. A restraining order. My hands shook as I read the words. Lisa had accused me of domestic abuse. She claimed I had yelled at her, threatened her, and even hit her in front of her son. The dates and times were specific, the details so perfectly crafted that I could tell she had been preparing this for weeks. I clenched my jaw, my vision blurring with fury. Lisa had played her trump card, and she had done it knowing exactly what it meant. If the court believed her, I would lose everything. The sound of footsteps made me look up. Lisa stood in the doorway, her arms crossed, an infuriatingly calm expression on her face. She had been waiting for me to find it. Are you serious? My voice came out low, dangerous. She shrugged, her lips curling into a slight smirk. You left me no choice, Jake. I laughed bitterly, shaking my head. No choice? You accuse me of abuse just because I won't roll over and let you walk all over me. She took a step closer, lowering her voice like she thought she could still control me. You wouldn't listen. You wouldn't work with me. I needed leverage. Leverage. That's what this was to her. Not justice. Not fear. Just another tool to force me into compliance. You're using our son as a weapon, I said, my voice thick with disgust. Lisa exhaled, her expression softening. It doesn't have to be this way, Jake. All you have to do is drop the divorce. Come back to me. We can fix this. I stared at her, at the woman I had once loved, and felt absolutely nothing. You just destroyed yourself, I said quietly. Lisa scoffed, tilting her head. No, Jake. I destroyed you. She turned and walked away, leaving me standing there with the weight of her betrayal sinking deeper into my bones. I took a deep breath, forcing the rage down. I couldn't afford to react emotionally. Not now. Lisa thought she had one. She had no idea what was coming. The next morning, I was in Parker's office before she had even finished her coffee. She flipped through the restraining order, her pen tapping against the desk as she read Lisa's allegations. This is bad, she admitted, her sharp eyes narrowing. I clenched my fists. Tell me something I don't know. She sighed, setting the papers down. We can fight this, but the burden of proof is on us. Do you have anything that proves she's lying? I leaned forward. Detective Harris does. Her lips curled into a slow, satisfied smile. Then let's bury her. 2 days later, I sat across from Detective Harris at a small diner, listening as he laid out everything he had found. And it was gold. Surveillance footage from inside my home showing no signs of abuse. Phone recordings of Lisa discussing her plan with Sophia. A witness. The babysitter. Lisa had gotten careless. She had vented to the babysitter about her plan to frame me, laughing about how the courts always sided with mothers. And the babysitter? She had recorded everything. I sat back, my hands steady for the first time in days. We have her. Harris nodded. Oh, we more than have her. 2 nights before the court hearing, Lisa showed up at my door. She shouldn't have been there. She had a restraining order against me, not the other way around. If I had been thinking clearly, I would have called the cops the second I saw her. But curiosity got the better of me. I opened the door, staring at her. She didn't look smug anymore. She looked nervous. Jake, just listen, she said, stepping inside like she still had the right. I didn't say a word. She hesitated, then sighed. You backed me into a corner. I had to do something. I leaned against the wall, arms crossed, waiting. I told them you hit me, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. That you screamed at me. That Connor was afraid of you. My entire body tensed. The level of evil it took to say those words out loud, to acknowledge what she had done so casually, made my blood run cold. Lisa must have seen it on my face because she quickly changed tactics. But it doesn't have to be this way, she whispered, stepping closer. Cancel the divorce. Come back to me. We'll fix this. You'll see Connor again. She reached for my chest. I immediately stepped back. "You're disgusting," I said, my voice like steel. Her smile wavered. For the first time, I saw doubt in her eyes. Maybe she realized she had gone too far. Maybe she thought I would break. But I didn't. I turned away, walking toward the door. She let me go. She thought she had already won. But the thing about people like Lisa? They never see the fall coming. The day before court, I met Parker, Harris, and the babysitter to go over the evidence one last time. "Are you ready for this?" Parker asked. I looked up at her, my pulse steady. Lisa had tried everything to destroy me. Now it was my turn. I smiled. "Let's end this." The courthouse was cold, sterile, and unfeeling. Exactly the kind of place where justice was supposed to be blind. But I knew better. Courts didn't care about the truth. They cared about who had the better lawyer, the better evidence, the better story. Lisa thought she had won before the battle had even begun. She had no idea what was about to hit her. I sat in the waiting area, watching her across the room. She looked smug, dressed in a soft blue blouse and a skirt that made her seem fragile and innocent. It was all part of the act. The victim. The poor, devastated wife. But her hands were shaking. She was nervous. Good. She should be. Her lawyer, a slick-looking man in his 40s, leaned in to whisper something to her, and she nodded. I could almost hear the words. "Stay calm. Cry if you have to. The judge will sympathize." Parker sat beside me, flipping through her notes, her pen tapping rhythmically against her legal pad. "You ready for this?" I smirked. "More than ready." The bailiff called us in. It was time. Lisa took the stand first. Her voice trembled as she described the abuse. She painted herself as the perfect wife who had done nothing wrong until I supposedly became violent, enraged by jealousy, threatening her, hitting her, making our son live in fear. She cried. Her voice broke at all the right moments. Her lawyer asked, "Mrs. Wilson, are you absolutely certain of the events you described? The dates, the details, everything?" Lisa sniffled and nodded. "Yes, I wrote everything down. I wanted to be sure. The truth must be told." Her lawyer turned, looking straight at the judge. "Your Honor, given the severity of my client's suffering, we are requesting full custody of her son, along with appropriate financial support." I clenched my jaw. This was the moment. Parker didn't even hesitate. "Your Honor, I'd like to call a witness to the stand. Mr. James McMahon." Lisa stiffened. Her lawyer froze. The doors opened, and Detective Harris walked in. Except here, he wasn't Harris. He was Jim McMahon, licensed private investigator. He took the stand, and Parker stepped forward, her voice calm, measured, lethal. "Mr. McMahon, can you tell the court how you became involved in this case?" Harris, McMahon, adjusted his tie. "I was hired to investigate Mrs. Lisa Wilson's activities regarding potential marital infidelity. During this time, I gathered surveillance footage, phone call transcripts, and multiple recordings relevant to this case." Lisa's face went white. Her lawyer stood. "Objection. This evidence is inadmissible. Mr. Wilson could have tampered with." Parker lifted a folder. "Your Honor, these records were collected and stored securely by a licensed investigator. They have not been altered in any way. In fact, they will directly contradict Mrs. Wilson's sworn testimony." The judge raised an eyebrow. "Objection overruled. Proceed." Lisa visibly swallowed. She knew. She knew she was done. Parker walked to the center of the courtroom, her voice sharp as a blade. "Mr. McMahon, do you have any evidence proving that Mrs. Wilson's accusations of abuse are false?" Harris, McMahon, nodded. "Yes. I have surveillance footage from the exact date she mentioned in her claims. At no point did Mr. Wilson threaten or physically harm her. In fact, on those dates, Mrs. Wilson was alone in another room, engaged in personal activities. I also have a recorded phone conversation in which she admits to fabricating these allegations for legal leverage." The courtroom erupted. Lisa's lawyer turned pale. He hurriedly whispered to her, but she was frozen in place. The judge held up a hand, silencing the murmurs. "Proceed." Parker handed a transcript to the judge. "Your Honor, this is a verbatim record of Mrs. Wilson discussing how she planned to frame her husband. If necessary, we can also play the recorded audio." Lisa's lawyer scrambled. "Your Honor, my client." The judge cut him off. "Mrs. Wilson, is this transcript accurate?" Lisa's mouth opened, but no sound came out. "Answer the question," the judge demanded. Tears welled in her eyes. She nodded. The judge exhaled, then turned to me. "Mr. Wilson, do you wish to pursue charges for perjury and false accusations?" I didn't even hesitate. No, Your Honor, I said, my voice calm, controlled. I just want full custody of my son. Lisa sagged in her chair, her entire world crumbling around her. The judge sighed. Very well. Mr. Wilson is awarded full custody of his son, Connor Wilson. Mrs. Wilson will receive supervised visitation rights at Mr. Wilson's discretion. Furthermore, all restraining orders against Mr. Wilson are lifted immediately. Lisa let out a choked sob. The judge continued. Regarding financial support, given the falsified abuse claims, the court will not grant alimony. The divorce is granted, effective immediately. The final hammer blow. Lisa collapsed into her chair, shaking her head, broken. I stood, buttoning my suit jacket. It was over. She had tried to destroy me, and she had destroyed herself instead. As I walked past Lisa's lawyer, he didn't even look at me. He was too busy whispering to his client, probably warning her about potential legal consequences for what she had done. Lisa finally looked up at me, tears streaking her face. Jake, she whispered. Please. I stopped just long enough to look her in the eyes. You made your choice, Lisa. And then I walked out, a free man. I stepped out of the courthouse that day a free man. The weight of months of betrayal, manipulation, and legal battles lifted from my shoulders the moment the judge's gavel came down. Lisa had played her games, thinking she could destroy me, thinking she could rewrite reality with her lies. Instead, she had destroyed herself. Now, I had full custody of my son, no alimony to pay, and the divorce finalized. Lisa had lost everything, and I wasn't finished yet. The next morning, I made a call. Ronald Hensley, Lisa's boss, the man who had enabled her and her little open marriage cult, the man who had overseen an entire network of infidelity within their office. I had spent weeks digging into him. My private investigator had uncovered more than enough evidence to show that Hensley wasn't just an active participant in Lisa's betrayal. He was also involved in multiple workplace affairs with subordinates, and his company had a strict non-fraternization policy. I scheduled a meeting with their corporate legal team and walked in, dressed in my sharpest suit, carrying a neatly organized lawsuit. The moment I sat down, the lead attorney barely looked up from the documents before sighing. How much? He asked. They already knew. They knew that if I took this public, they would be facing a major scandal. So I smiled. 1.5 million. An hour later, I walked out of that building with a settlement check in my pocket. Lisa's workplace was in chaos within the week. Hensley was fired. Several of Lisa's friends were also investigated, and at least 2 of them lost their jobs. As for Lisa, she kept her job, but only because I had requested it. Why? Because I wanted her to suffer. I wanted her to wake up every day knowing she had destroyed her life while I was thriving. I didn't stop there. I paid off every last penny of my child support obligation in advance. Lisa had no power over me anymore. No control. No leverage. She tried calling, begging, pleading. Jake, please, I messed up. I'll do anything to fix this. I let her words sit in the silence before replying. You already did everything, Lisa. That's why there's nothing left to fix. Then I hung up, and I blocked her number. For the first time in a long time, I focused on myself. I poured my energy into raising my son, into building a future without Lisa. At work, my colleagues, most of whom had known me before this mess, rallied behind me. They had seen the divorce unfold from the sidelines, watched as Lisa dragged my name through the mud. Now, I was the guy who had fought back, the guy who had won. Women started showing interest. Single co-workers, acquaintances, even a few married women who thought I might have turned to Lisa's way of thinking. I shut that down immediately. I wasn't bitter. I wasn't damaged. I was just done with anyone who didn't value loyalty. One night, a few months later, I was sitting on the couch with Connor, watching cartoons, when he suddenly looked up at me with those wide, innocent eyes. Daddy. I ruffled his hair. Yeah, buddy. Are you happy now? I blinked, taken aback. He was only 3, but he had seen everything. Felt the tension, heard the arguments, lived through the chaos. I pulled him close, pressing a kiss to his forehead. Yeah, kiddo, I whispered. I'm happy now. He snuggled into my side, content. Safe. Loved. Lisa had tried to destroy our family, but in the end, I was the one who rebuilt it, without her. And I had never felt stronger. I was finally free. Looking back, I see the lessons hidden in the wreckage of my marriage. They weren't easy to learn, but they were necessary. Loyalty is everything. Love without trust is just a lie waiting to be exposed. If someone values their own desires more than the promises they made to you, then they were never truly yours to begin with. Pay attention to the warning signs. People don't just wake up one day and decide to betray you. It starts small, subtle changes in behavior, secrecy, justifications for things that never needed excuses before. If something feels off, trust your instincts. Know your worth. I spent too much time wondering if I did something wrong, if I could have prevented Lisa from making the choices she did. But in the end, her betrayal wasn't about me. It was about her. No one deserves to be disrespected, least of all by the person who vowed to stand beside them. Don't let bitterness define you. It's easy to let betrayal harden your heart, to close yourself off from the world. But moving on isn't about revenge. It's about reclaiming your peace. Now, I focus on what truly matters: my son, my happiness, and a life built on honesty and integrity. Because at the end of the day, losing a liar is never really a loss.